Welcome to the Encore Walk-Worthy Mashup. Is that what we're going to call it?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, we're going to go for it. So we're sitting in your awesome studio this morning. Mm-hmm. This is probably the nicer of the two. Is that right?
It's quite awesome.
It's quite awesome. Yes, it looks great in here. So what we want to do is recap the women's retreat, which just happened this past week, right? But in Encore fashion, we have to talk about some fun things first, all right?
All right.
You guys ready? I think they're nervous about this part.
I'm the most nervous about this part.
All right, let's talk about the disclaimer first, because we're going to talk about favorites and rankings or whatever, and you guys don't have to commit to this for life.
Okay.
All right, we're just going to go with it. You can talk about
Please
it.
don't hold us to what we say.
Yeah,
here.
right. So somebody's going to come up to you and you said this, and now you changed your mind.
Change. This is our current favorite or the first thing that popped into our head.
Yes,
Right.
more that.
More that.
Oh, there you go. That's good. Now you could talk it out a little bit. This doesn't have to be a one-word answer.
Okay.
People want to know who you is.
Who you is.
We're gonna walk through that. All right, you guys ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Favorite. Let's just do this. 1, 2, but you can say other words. Favorite season.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's so cliche, but I really do like fall because, right, summer I love, and spring, you're like, oh, it's going to stop being awful in winter. But then summer, by the end of summer, it just gets a little oppressive where I'm thinking, I just wish it was 70 degrees or 65, you know?
Yeah.
My answer is the same.
Yeah.
Typical.
Fall's the answer, though. I
It's
think
the
it's the right
answer.
answer.
It's the right
I love
answer.
it. Okay, more specific. What's your favorite month?
Oh. I don't know. Well, okay, so this is weird. Go ahead. You answer first.
Well,
If you have an answer, go
mine is
ahead.
kind of, I would say October is my favorite month. I just like the whole idea of October. It's like officially all fall, and it just feels like warm, even just in my brain saying the word October. And I got married in October.
Oh, cool.
I did that because I loved October, though. So October's my favorite. I think that's cliche.
Dude, I
too.
like the confidence in your answer because you didn't want to
I
commit to
know.
something. I love that.
Well, I
You're
do
all
have
in
feelings
for
about
October.
months and seasons.
All right.
So, wow, I do like October a lot. September usually is a little better weather, but school starts, which is always very stressful. So I'm like, ugh. But I enjoy the pace of like June for me, I think, because everything's done.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
weird because I like the season of fall better, but I think the pacing of the summer months is like,
It's
I
good.
look forward to those months because it's kind
It's
of
good.
more time off, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on October, though. I like October.
I do like
It's
October a
the
lot.
best. All right, your one meal. You get one meal, whether it's your birthday or you're on death row. I don't know. You got one meal. What are you gonna eat?
I can
Doesn't have
go
to be
if
like
you
a
don't have an
specific
answer.
restaurant. You could say like burger and fries.
So
or,
my current favorite thing to track
She
down,
says current favorite.
specific,
yeah, okay.
Currently.
is like a good street taco.
Okay.
You know.
Cool.
I would say some type of like seafood. Like, I love shrimp, maybe lobster, crab legs, all that. Not fish so much, but all the.
Okay.
Was that shellfish?
The crustaceans?
Sure.
I don't know.
That makes me not want to eat them.
No, you don't like it. Yeah.
But yeah, like that's what I love. So like, put that in like some fettuccine or like, yeah, any of that.
Okay.
Lots
This
of butter,
is fun. I feel like I'm getting to know
garlic,
you guys too.
all that.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. All right. Dessert. What's the dessert with that?
Whoa.
It doesn't have to be with it.
Yeah.
Just your one dessert.
I'm probably going something very strong chocolate, like a flourless chocolate torte or something like that. Something that's almost too rich to eat, you know?
Okay, this is kind of dumb, but I really like fancy cakes. So I really love, one time, a long time ago, I went to this bridal expo before I got married. Got a little story for you. And there was this place, and they had these little cake samples, and it was like French vanilla cake with like a raspberry filling and like a vanilla buttercream frosting, and I've never forgotten that cake. I actually just tried to make something like it the other day. I had French vanilla cake mix. I put raspberry jam in the middle. I used cream cheese frosting. It's so good. It's sitting on my counter at home. It's delicious.
Man.
And whenever there's like an event or something, I just want a fancy cake like that.
Okay. Those cupcakes that you brought in that one day, is that fancy cake?
Kinda, yeah.
Somebody's birthday happened and you brought in some cupcakes. And
Yeah.
I had it. It was the best thing I've ever eaten.
I did not make it, let me say that.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. But yeah,
Is
that's
that-
fancy cake.
Okay,
Yeah.
fancy cake. Okay.
It was
Just small
peanut
version.
butter, Chocolate.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get too serious with this one, but like an irrational type of a fear. What's your biggest fear? Like, not like, I don't want to go into like death of people.
Fear of failure.
I was
Yeah.
going to feel like
get
everyone
it.
I love dies.
Yeah. Just, right. More of
And I panic.
I want to say irrational, but it's, you know what I mean.
Okay, so I really don't like. I have to qualify this. I don't like unsecured heights. Okay.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. Okay.
So like if I'm up on a building and there's a wall like the top of the Empire State Building or something, I can look over it. It's fine. Edge of a cliff is a different story. Like Wes will go right up to the edge and dangle his toes over, and I feel like I'm gonna trip and fall just for no reason at all. Like there's not anything that will make me fall, but if I get too close and I think about it, it's like, you know, you ever do like Mario Kart, the little game?
Yeah, I know what Mario Kart.
Yeah, okay.
You know.
You know that game you used to play? But you know how they would throw the banana peel down, and I would always look at it and be like, don't hit the banana peel, and I would always hit the banana peel.
Yeah,
That's what I feel like about heights. Like I'm going to think
man.
about it and be like, don't fall over the edge, don't fall over the edge, and then I'll fall
You're
over
just
the
going
edge.
to be like,
oh crap.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
See, to me, none of my fears are irrational.
That one's not really irrational.
It isn't.
It is and isn't, but it doesn't have to be. It just doesn't have to be.
Like, to me, my fears are like, I'm afraid around water or like something like that. And they're all kind of come back to like not trusting my own coordination.
Okay.
So I'm afraid of myself.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, like anything that's like dangerous, but I feel like, I couldn't do that because I'm not like capable of that. Like, other people can do it. I'll watch them do it all day and I'm not nervous and whatever, they're gonna do great. For me, like, I don't trust my own like physical coordination to be able to do things.
Okay. Sounds good.
If that makes sense.
Okay. What's better, Walkworthy or Encore?
Please. What does better mean?
Oh, okay. You don't have to answer that. I was just kidding with that. What's your favorite hobby?
That is
Do I have a
You
hobby?
can't say being a mom.
I know.
Hobby.
Oh. Do you want to go first? I feel like I keep going first.
I don't have a lot of hobbies.
Okay.
I've been like trying to read more lately.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a hobby.
Okay.
Really not very exciting in any way.
Okay.
I love to read, but I also like to paint things, furniture, stuff like that,
Oh, okay.
rehabbing stuff.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of time to do it, but when I do, I like to do that.
Okay. Good deal. Introvert, extrovert?
Introvert.
Introvert,
Me too.
100%.
Me too.
I'm gonna go lock myself in a closet after this interview.
Totally. We got a lot of introverts here. Absolutely.
Yeah, truly.
All right, this is going to be one you're going to have a hard time with. If you had to live in any state, let's say you could move your church or your family, that's not a factor.
Okay.
Just the state itself, pick an entire state to live in for the rest of
But I
your life.
haven't been to all the states.
Well, right.
Oh, I knew this was going to happen. Of what you know.
Okay. So I was interested in the Southwest until I was there this summer, and I decided it's uninhabitable. So that's out.
man.
It's so hot. Like you can't even walk down the sidewalk to get something. It's so
Just
hot.
misery.
It is. So I would probably pick something like Wyoming or a Colorado or something where you still get some seasons, but it's not quite the harshness of where we're at.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. North Carolina, maybe?
Okay.
Carolinas
Okay.
are pretty.
Yeah. Good states. Okay. Very cool. Who's your favorite pastor at the Rock?
You.
Don't
for
answer.
sure.
Oh, you
I'm just
Definitely you, Scott.
Okay.
He's trying to like catch us off guard. He says them quick, so we'll be like, oh.
I was
Oh,
trying
wait.
to catch you off guard. Yes. I was going to say, don't answer it, but you beat me to it. Thanks.
With the right answer.
With the right
answer. Right.
Whichever
All right.
pastor I'm sitting with at the moment is my favorite.
Even though you're married to
I'm
one.
just kidding. Obviously, Wes is my favorite. We do like each other.
I said don't answer. You don't have to answer.
I'm choosing not to.
Oh, okay. All right. Who's been the biggest spiritual influence in your life?
Whoa.
Yeah.
One human. Could be from a distance or a personal, close person.
Wow.
Wow.
Jeez, that got heavy quick.
Yeah, it did get heavy quick. I was trying to transition. That was a bad transition. I just went through it. Well, actually, I'm trying to speed it up. I had 100 more questions, so I'm moving it along. We got serious.
I don't feel like I can pick just one. Like, there are different seasons.
If you don't want to commit to that one, that's
in
okay.
your life.
This isn't like favorite cupcake.
I know,
Right,
that's
it's not.
hard. I have a lot of people that I've read through at different seasons.
Mm-hmm.
In college, I read through a lot of C.S. Lewis. I mean, I don't know. I've listened to a ton of different sermons by a lot of different pastors. I don't know. I mean, go ahead.
To me, I guess I kind of take that as more like a personal.
Well, that's what
Is
I was
that
going to
like-
say next, personally.
Right, yeah.
But go ahead, and then
So, I guess a few people off the top of my head, like, it seems silly, but like, obvious. My parents.
It's not always obvious.
It's not always. That's true.
Yeah.
For me, it feels obvious, but yeah, like, even if in the past year, I've like called my parents and just like thanked them for being what they were, because I know like not everybody has that, and so just them, and they still are that in my life. Honestly, you and Wes, because I've known you for so long, and part of that is just like watching you guys and how you serve the Lord, and I've just learned a lot, you know, and so I would say probably those two couples, I guess.
Okay. Cool.
I was going to say personally for me, probably Wes, just the amount
Sure.
of conversations and, you know, things we talk through, and I don't know.
Okay. Good stuff. All right. Thanks for playing the games with me. We're gonna.
That was a game?
You know.
I feel very stressed out. I'm just kidding. It's fine.
No, it was great.
All right, let's talk about actual. So in the Encore, which it's called Behind the Message. So I want to dive like a little bit behind the whole process of it, and people don't see a lot of these things. And so, how do you pick a theme? And so I'm gonna ask, you guys can talk about this. For you, Erin, the theme of the actual retreat with the verse, and then Lyndsay, how does that work with music and song choice, selection, and then collaboration with the two of you?
So, this might sound weird, but I feel like the theme picks me, you know? I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I pray about it a lot. I read. I try to pay attention to things that kind of come in my direction. And I feel like I eventually settle on the theme. And for this one in particular, I ended up, for some reason, in Revelation, in a very odd verse that we talked about. And it said there was war in the heavenlies, something about Michael and the archangels resisted Satan, basically, and they kicked him out of heaven, and there was no longer a place found for him. And that was kind of the catalyst for thinking about spiritual warfare. And there was a lot of other stuff. I mean, this was like 2 years ago, so it's hard for me to remember all of the things, but there were a lot of things that kind of, you know, things kind of compound on each other, and then you're like, oh, well, maybe I should look at this as being the theme. This is really honestly not a theme I would have picked to do, because I feel like coming into a big event like this, you're already kind of in the line of fire, so I didn't feel like I needed to pick a fight with Satan, really. But I really felt like this was what the Lord had, and so I wanted to be faithful to. I felt like if I picked my own theme and then asked him to bless it, that was going to be kind of a mess. So
Right. So I don't even think we mentioned it. Just share the theme, because we didn't.
Oh, so the theme was war zone is what ended up being. So it was going to be spiritual warfare. And you always have to title it, which is really difficult to boil a retreat down to a word or two. And I remember Wes and I were walking, and there were some things going on that were just kind of crazy in church. And, you know, our house had just burned down like a few months prior. And we were actually walking our dogs one night and talking through some of the stuff that was going on. And he was like, man, it's just a war zone out there right now. And I was like, oh, that's it. Like, that's the theme, because I couldn't settle on what are the exact words.
The wording,
And so that was kind of how the theme got named. Wes named it accidentally. Of course.
Classic. Classic. He wants credit for it either way. So.
Wes, nicely done.
Lyndsay, the music side of it. So how do you do that with collaborating with Erin and talk about the theme? And then how do you then go into what songs do I pick and what songs I don't use?
Yeah, so I obviously always want to know like the heart of it and the theme verse. And it's funny, that Revelation verse isn't what ended up being the theme, because it was kind of like, this is a weird theme verse. But it was one from Psalms. But I wanted to know like what the heart of it was. And so I asked her, you know, like what that was. And then really too, I just like to sit planning for something like this with whoever is speaking. and ask like, okay, well, where are you taking them each section, you know? That happens on a weekend too, whoever's
Right.
preaching, like,
Right.
Where do you want a person to be left at the end of this message, you know? Like, what should their response be? And sometimes, you know, I'm able to like see notes or like, this is what I'm thinking. And I just kind of like building around that and trying to get a person, I guess before the message, get them to a place of like being able to receive that.
Yeah.
But also at the end, you know, picking songs at the end, I want to provide maybe like a script for a person who needs to respond but doesn't necessarily know maybe what the words are or what it is they need to say.
Yeah.
Kind of like put some words in their mouth for that. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about preparation, not so much the logistics and everything. I know there's a lot that goes into that, but just like the mental, spiritual preparation, and then the writing the messages, and then even the music too with it. So what is your style of how you go into, like, I don't know, whatever, you're like, a year from now I have to do this. It's, you know, it's a ways out. So how do you then begin to go, these are the messages that I want to do. This is how I work on it. And even picking breakout speakers and fitting for all that. I know that's a lot of questions.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So if I forget one, you'll have to ask me
Yeah.
again and I'll answer. For the messages, so once I, usually, even now, I actually have a file. I just started a file with stuff that I didn't use from this retreat, and I just threw it in there. So it's a Google Doc, and it's a living doc. As I have random thoughts, I'll throw stuff in there. Eventually, out from that will come a theme where we're headed for the weekend. So a lot of times along the way, a lot of the really pre-prep happens along the way because there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing just to keep women's ministry going. I have kids that I homeschool, a lot of things. So for me, I'll have random thoughts at weird times that I'll just open that doc and I'll throw it in. It's in no particular order. It's a complete disaster, which it just is what it is. So when it comes time to really looking at, when we get closer to the retreat, within maybe a couple months of retreat, then I like to look at where specifically are we heading each session. For this, usually, you know, I probably know sooner than that because I have to pick breakouts topics and those usually have to relate to the theme. So then I'll decide where we're headed in each session. So for this one in particular, because we were talking about spiritual warfare, I thought the first thing in war would be you'd want to know your enemy. So that was session 1. Session 2 was on us as the soldiers. What does that look like? What are we called to? How do we fight? And then session 3 was that the battle belongs to the Lord. So once I have those sessions, then when we get closer, like a month out, I'll usually go in and start to look through I had 40 pages of stuff. Random phrases because I've been prepping for this for 2 years. So that was very overwhelming to go in and be like, okay, what do I cut? How do I consolidate this? How does this flow into a message? So I roughly had a very rough outline that I got through, but then I had to go through it again to make sure that it made sense. And I cut some things, I added some things, I tweaked some things, and then I will usually go through that one more time before I speak. But I don't like to do that until it's like the day of.
So do you go into a room and like preach to a wall? How does that look? What's it look like for you?
So for me, especially the day of, I do kind of have to talk through it, not like stand up and like, you know, whatever, but I kind of have to like look through I'm looking at my computer and sort of talking through particular the transitions to make sure that one section goes into another so it's not really disjointed or, you know, it kind of flows, or do I have too many things? Am I repeating myself? Right. You know, how am I actually going to get from this point to this point when I'm on stage? Because I don't really want to work that out live in front of a couple hundred ladies, you know? Right. So that's kind of, and then, you know, there's a significant amount of study and, you know, looking at definitions of words. And I read a book on General Rommel, I didn't finish it, but I got probably halfway through it, who was a general in World War II. I read another book on the war in Afghanistan. These were secular books just on kind of like to get the perspective of a soldier. There were a couple of military people that I actually interviewed and then went to the whole spiritual side of, okay, what does the Bible say about that?
That's cool.
So I don't know. This one required a lot of research, I felt like.
Okay, that's good. I'll come back to the breakouts in a minute.
Okay.
Lyndsay, talk about the preparation for you and all of that goes into it. Like you're recruiting a whole band.
Yeah.
Practice time, all of it. What does it look like for you? And then maybe compared to a weekend service.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of nice with part of the band because several of the ladies were going up anyway. So that was like, okay, you're already going to be there. I want to serve in the band, which was great. But that's not a full band. So I had a few guys from our team come. I mean, they're giving up their weekend to come to this retreat to be like the only dudes there and just kind of like sit around and wait for when they're supposed to play, you know? So I was really appreciative of that, but sometimes that can be a challenge. It wasn't that hard this time, which I'm thankful for. So then I kind of just start with like a master song list. Like I think all these kind of fit the theme, you know, kind of whittle it down, and then take those and put them into different set lists. We had one practice before we went up we had one newer song that we were doing, so I wanted everybody to kind of get their hands on that before we got up there. And then we had practices every day of the retreat as well. I mean, not super long, but at least being able to, okay, this is the flow of the service, this is what we're doing. We had one, the last session, we did something kind of different where we would come up and we played behind Erin, did part of a song, and then she gave like a charge to the women as they left the retreat, and so then we were playing a song behind that, so we kind of needed to work all that out and see what we needed to do. So that's kind of like logistically what we do, I guess, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, back to the breakouts then. How do you decide how many breakouts I want to have, who would teach them, and what the themes of the breakouts are?
So some of that is determined by space, how many rooms I have, and then also how many women are coming. So you want, I can't have 100 women in a breakout, you know. So you try to have enough, and then you also variety for where women are at in their walks of life. So some women are married, some women are divorced, some are widowed. We have young adults coming. You have people from, 18 on up to 80, really. So trying to pick a wide range of topics that apply to all of us as women, but then also try to fit that into our theme. So how do you fight for your marriage was one. We had one on parenting. Okay, what's the battle plan of what we're supposed to be teaching our kids and stuff like that. So everything sort of related to the theme, but I guess I try to think through, sometimes it even is, what do I wish I could teach in session, but I know I don't have time, but we could throw that into a breakout and somebody could really delve deeply into that. One of those was being battle weary, which I talked about kind of at the end of one of mine, but I really felt like for people that are fighting through something and are really tired, this could be I wish someone would just talk about it. And so Ashley Law came up and talked about that for us. So it's kind of I don't know, sometimes we just sit, and you've even been in those meetings where we just brainstorm, what do you think people need to hear?
Yeah, definitely. Like even looking around at like the world and where it's at right now, you know, what are people really walking through on a day-to-day and need to be spoken to about?
Okay. What is your nerve level going into a retreat and then like leading up to Lyndsay the same, leading up to, the message? Walk us through that. This is like behind the scenes, Wes and I talk about this sometimes of overtime. So what do you got on the nerves?
Yeah, this, especially knowing that it was spiritual warfare, I always try to be ready for attack, for distraction, coming into retreat anyway. But being that we're talking spiritual warfare, for me it was a heightened level of, I'm sure there's an attack coming, I just don't know where it's coming from, and so really trying to be very aware of that and stay very, very focused, which takes a lot of mental discipline, because there are small things that, I had just taught on distraction the night before, and then Saturday I came in and there were a couple things and I was like, I gotta walk away, I'm just gonna be distracted, and this is exactly what I was just teaching about, and so just trying to keep yourself, for me, trying to keep myself really focused, because I know I'm easily distracted. That is very mentally taxing in and of itself. And then there's the spiritual, I don't know if burden's the right word, responsibility is maybe a better word, of walking through that is very exhausting. And then the nerves, of course, just, it can be, I don't know if it should be or not. Maybe I need to rely on the Lord more. I don't know. But it is very overwhelming to come in Friday night and be like, okay, on Friday night you're like, yeah, let's go. But then you turn the corner into Saturday, and it's to finish Saturday night and then turn Sunday morning around. It's very overwhelming just from an energy level, because I'm doing 3 very intense, sometimes emotional talks in like 36, 38 hours. It's a lot. So
it's a lot. For me, I don't get super nervous about leading worship. I don't get super nervous about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more nervous about, excuse me, the flow of everything. And I want to make sure like things happen how they're supposed to leading into it, and there's not a lot of like I get nervous more about that, like about the transitions between songs, about the transitions between, oh, the worship team has to go up now, but like these people are still up there and they're going down, because it can just make people feel like uneasy, and that's not, if they feel uneasy, then they're not going to be just like free and trusting in worship if they, So I get more nervous about those things, and I have like less control over those things too, because like I can't control what other people are doing, For me though, like going into it, I don't feel like I was as ready as I needed to be for the attacks like you're talking about. We're really busy around here, and sometimes it's just the next thing on the list, like, okay, we did the Uber tour, and now we have women's retreat in a couple weeks, so I need to get a band together, I need to get songs together, I need to get that to them, I need to have a practice. And I had started to feel like a little bit, I don't think I'm sick. I think it was allergies just like earlier in the week because the seasons are changing, whatever. And I was just kind of like, oh, whatever, it's not like I never get allergies and things like this. It's fine going into the weekend. And I think was just kind of like assuming everything would be fine and kind of like relying on my own strength. Like, well, whatever, I do this all the time. And I need to cough again. Sorry, everyone.
Not sick.
I'm not sick. It's just all clearing out. But we got so Friday night, we had the first session, and I sang, and it all came out fine, but I haven't like had to work that hard to sing in a really long time. And so I was just like, we got done, and I was just like, whoa, that was hard. And it was awesome, and the Lord blessed it, and the women were worshiping, and that's what it's about. But like the next day, like in all my years, whatever, but really, truly, I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years here and singing before that, and I have never, my voice has never been as bad as it was on Saturday, ever. I didn't have it. Like, if I tried to sing, my throat was just like burning. Like, I could sing the low parts. If I tried to jump up, it was like crackly, and it was bad. Like, and I was like, I don't know what to do, because this has never happened to me before, And so I was just, that really like pushed me, like, yeah, you're not going to do this in your strength, Lyndsay. Like, and earlier in the day, I was taking a nap. I was going to take a nap, and I'm like, no, I got to read my Bible before I take my nap. Like, I have to. And I just opened up, and it was the verse in Colossians that was talking about like singing with thankfulness in your heart to God, and teaching and admonishing and encouraging one another as we worship. It's just what I so happened to read. And so just for me, like going into that, I just wanted to focus on like singing with thankfulness. And then we got like partway through the set on Saturday night, and I was just like, yeah, my voice is not here. It's just not. And I honestly felt like it was distracting because it was so not what it needed to be. Like, I wish I could be like describe it, but it was bad. And so I just kind of like was like, I just need to say something to these women, because I don't want to be a distraction. Like, wonder what's wrong with Lyndsay? Like, why isn't she singing? And so I just kind of like told them like, hey, my voice isn't good tonight, but that's not what worship is about. And it was cool that I had read that verse early in Colossians, because I was able to tell them like, this is what worship is about. It's about us admonishing and encouraging one another, letting the word of Christ dwell in us as we sing. It's about his people singing. And so it was just cool, like, to be able to point them to what worship is about anyway, like when you don't have a good vocalist, like God can still be praised just as much, if not more. And so it was just very like pushed me to rely on the Lord, like, yeah, Lyndsay, I've given you this ability and this talent that you use for me, but like, I'm still giving you the power and the ability to do it. It's not always just going to be there. I don't think God was like being mean to me or mad at me or anything like that. Can make what it sounds like, but it just like reminded me like, yeah, I have to rely on the Lord for this. And I truly had to. And it's not 100% back yet. I'm trusting the Lord that he'll bring it back. I was in my head like, oh no, this is it. This is it. He took it away. I'm sorry, God.
It's over.
There goes your career.
Yeah, but
Okay.
So anyway, just like I said, I just feel like I wasn't exactly ready. And so.
Yeah. So you had talked about the, kind of the busyness of life, and in ministry, like we're often kind of doing the next thing and going. So I know you guys are not ever going to say this yourselves. So I just want to say, like, how much people don't realize how much work goes into something like this retreat. And even personally for you guys, it is a lot of weight. You guys talked about that a little bit in the preparation. And so the truth is we do these things because we love it and we care and we're trying to honor the Lord. But quite honestly, it is not a retreat for either of you, right? And so right, it's very much hard work. That is worth it. We don't begrudge it. I get all that.
Yeah,
but so
absolutely.
for the two of you individually, how do you retreat in life, or coming back from this and going, man, that was a hectic weekend. It's busy. You're away from your family. All of that together. And I think you guys have talked about this on Walk Worthy, but the idea of resting. And sometimes, like, we think we're super spiritual. If we don't rest, we just go. So what is a retreat for you individually, personally?
Yeah, well, so I really tried Monday to sit around as much as possible, to sleep, to sit, and just relax, because I have realized, like you said, I mean, it is so busy, and there is always something to do, and I have in times past gone, and then you do get to the end of yourself and you're like, I can't do this anymore, I'm so tired. So trying to just guard that before you hit a burnout stage, I think, is important. And so for me, this entire week, I'm trying to just back down, trying to make sure that I sleep well, going to bed at a decent time. I wouldn't say I'm all the way back yet, but I feel better than I did Sunday night and Monday.
Yeah. I agree. Same. Monday I didn't do much, which was very nice. But like, that's a choice. You have to choose.
Yeah.
You come home from a weekend away, like, there's stuff to do when you get home. And so for me, just really telling myself, like, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Like, you just need to, especially whatever's going on with all of this, I just need to, like, protect that. And also too, like, yesterday, just like taking some intentional time, like, with the Lord, like, that's how we're going to get filled back up and ready to do it again. That's true rest. And so just allowing him to be that for me. So.
Okay. So last question would just be, and you two might have totally different elements of this, but how do you evaluate the whole weekend? People always ask, and my wife and I, Jessica was a big part of the weekend, so she asked, people always ask, how'd the weekend go? And you're like, it's so hard because you pass people on a Sunday for 2-3 minutes, and it's like, well, what am I supposed to get into right now? So the answer is always, it's good. It was good. So, but you guys, the weekend is over. How do you evaluate what was good, and what are you looking for when you're doing that?
Go ahead.
Or not good?
I think a lot, from the worship aspect, I can kind of tell how it's going, like, during the event. Sometimes not as much. But I just really feel like women were lifted up and encouraged. And I think that, like, a lot of times when it's just the women together, the worship is just so sweet.
Yeah.
I think that they are, especially at a retreat, people tend to try to leave everything at home, and just be there, focused with the Lord. And so I really think that God uses that to just make the worship sweet and encourage people's hearts and lift them up. And obviously there's feedback, like, from people saying, like, just how blessed they are by the worship and things like that. But honestly, for the retreat as a whole, I had a conversation with a lady, and she was like, it just boils down to one thing. I've got to, like, know my word. I've got to know the Bible. It was just cool. Like, that was her huge takeaway.
Yeah.
Like, if I know the word of God and hide it in my heart, like, all these other things are going to fall into place. It was just cool, like, to hear that from them. Like, yeah, like, you're getting it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So.
So for me, I it's hard to evaluate the retreat when you're in the retreat because there's so much happening. So I can't really look at it fully until I'm out of it, I think. And then you look back and you're like, okay. Yeah. There were moments, worship was really powerful. Even the night where, in your weakness, right, where the Lord's power showed up, and she said, I'm going to need the women to help. And they did. They pushed the song, and it was neat. And so the moments like that where you can feel the power of the Lord moving, for me, that's a win. We have had a lot of feedback. We had a lady that was saved up there that I know for sure.
That's awesome.
I don't know about how many others, but for sure that one. We have people showing up to Tuesday night study because they were at retreat, and so now they want to be plugged in. Yeah. That's another thing. There were women that I think were encouraged to go back and keep fighting to be who they were, to who they're supposed to be, I mean. And someone said to me, a more mature believer, came up at the very end and she said, she's like, I came and I think she's kind of struggling with some things. And she said, I think you're waiting for this new epiphany of stuff. And she's like, I know everything that you said. She's like, but I just have to do it. And so that's the thing. We can know everything. I even tell my kids this when they'll come and I'll be like, hey, you need to do this. I know. Well, it's not the knowing, it's the doing, like you can know it, but you have to do it. So moments like that where you see where something landed, where they were encouraged by a breakout session or blessed, even there's so much that goes into it. I know the two of us are here, but the amount of work from people, Jeff Lincoln did stage construction, Neil did stage, the amount of things that Neil did is like, you couldn't even list. Paula and Tracy, Jessica did all the decor, all those little touches. The goal is that women come and they feel loved on and important, and then poured into and encouraged and discipled and all those things, saved if they need to be saved. And so all the stories, the women seemed very grateful. And so for me, I feel like that's the Lord making it work, and we can do all those things, but absence of the power of God, none of that really matters. But it all kind of works together, and to watch him work is awesome.
Okay, very good. All right, last question, the final thing is just how somebody missed the retreat, how can they get any of the information? Are they able to watch the sessions or get the study guides? What do you tell them? What do we say?
All that will be available online.
Okay.
It's not on there yet, but if you go to the app, down at the bottom says Connect, and then click on the Women's tab, you will see the War Zone Retreat information, and that will be there within a week or two. I think within the week, but just in case other people are busy, it might take longer.
And we'll probably put some stuff on social media and send emails too, so you'll be notified of that. But thanks for joining us today in our little mashup. It was fun. I don't even know if I introduced you guys at the beginning, because this is your
I'm
gig.
Lyndsay.
I'm Erin.
I'm Scott. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Encore or Walk Worthy.